Keep your hands where we can see them. Do not move. The voice was sharp, cold. Two police officers, both white, stormed toward the middle of a quiet country road, guns drawn, veins pulsing in their necks. Behind them, a cruiser idled with flashing red and blue lights. A black wheelchair lay tipped over in the road. One boot, military-issued, sat in the dirt like it had been thrown. On the hot pavement, a black woman struggled on her hands and knees. Her white shirt was soaked in red, a deep stain blooming from her chest. Sweat clung to her graying curls under a navy blue cap that read in gold, "Veteran." She was gasping, not from fear, but pain. Real pain. Her breathing was tight. Her face tight. Her words nearly too soft to hear. "Please, I can't breathe right." But the cops didn't move closer to help. They only shouted louder. "Don't reach for anything. You match a suspect description. Put your hands out now." The woman tried to sit up, but her left leg wasn't there. Her right one barely moved. She slipped and collapsed again, groaning. Her prosthetic had been torn off with the fall. Her body shook from the impact, from the blood loss. From the disbelief, the officers only saw what they wanted. Black, alone, crawling on a highway. A threat. One officer, the older one with a buzz cut and clenched jaw, barked at her again. "Who the hell are you? What were you trying to escape from?" The woman looked up, lips trembling. "I'm not escaping. I was going to the hospital. I told dispatch, but they weren't listening." Their hands were tight on their weapons. Their eyes wide with suspicion. They didn't see a patient or a person, only a profile. A few minutes earlier, Major Eleanor Vance, retired U.S. Army Medal of Honor recipient, had been driving herself slowly down this back road in southern Missouri. Her old van had a ramp and a lift. She had called 911 herself, explaining her chest hurt and she needed an ambulance, but there wasn't one nearby, so she tried to drive herself alone, but then her chest tightened. She couldn't steer. She pulled over and tried to get out, hoping to wave someone down for help. Instead, her wheelchair caught on gravel and flipped. Her prosthetic snapped off. Her body hit the road hard. Within minutes, the police arrived, but they didn't see a woman in distress. They saw a suspicious vehicle parked sideways and a black woman crawling from the driver's seat. Just like the false report called in by a scared bystander. And so here she was now bleeding, shaking, surrounded. "Get on your stomach," the younger cop screamed, sweat dripping down his temple. "Now or we will shoot." Eleanor's body went limp. She didn't have the strength to argue. Not with blood soaking her shirt. Not with her leg missing. Not with pain screaming through her chest. But even in pain, even humiliated in the middle of the road, she didn't beg. Instead, she whispered, "I served. I served this country. You don't have to do this." The older officer flinched. "That doesn't matter right now. You don't listen, you get hurt. Simple as that." Her eyes narrowed. "Is that what you tell yourself? Every time you pull your gun on someone who looks like me?" The man didn't answer. A few cars slowed but didn't stop. Drivers stared, then sped off. A couple even took photos. A bleeding black woman in a veteran hat. Cops screaming, gun barrels pointing. It all looked like just another news story waiting to happen. None of them knew her name. None of them knew what she'd done. How she dragged 4 men to safety from a burning Humvee in Kandahar. How she'd taken shrapnel to the chest in Iraq and still kept her squad alive until air support arrived. How the president himself pinned the Medal of Honor to her chest 5 years ago. All they saw was blood, brown skin, and a badge. "Sir," one officer muttered. "We need to call backup. Maybe she's got a weapon." "No." Eleanor yelled, finding breath she didn't know she had. "I called you. I called dispatch. I was having chest pain. I'm a damn vet. My name is Eleanor Vance. Major Vance." The 2 officers froze for a half second. "Right." One scoffed. "And I'm President Biden." The other laughed. "If you're a major, where's your uniform? Here? Where's your ID?" Eleanor didn't answer. She didn't need to because in that moment, the wind blew and something slid from her pocket. A leather badge holder, the kind given to veterans after honorable discharge. Inside, her VA card, a Department of Defense ID, and a Medal of Honor certificate stub with her name in bold, Major Eleanor T. Vance. One officer picked it up. His hand trembled. The other paled. Suddenly, their posture changed. "Wait," the younger cop said, This says she's." "Oh my God, Major. Medal of Honor." The older officer stepped back. "We messed up bad." Before either could react further, tires screeched in the distance. A black Dodge Ram pulled up fast behind the cruiser. Out jumped a massive man in camouflage pants and a plain green t-shirt. His boots slammed the road. His jaw clenched. He didn't look like a civilian. He ran straight past the officers without asking permission and knelt at Eleanor's side. "Major," he gasped. "Is that you?" Eleanor looked up, squinting. "Sergeant Brooks, I heard your name on the scanner. I didn't believe it. What the hell is going on here?" He stood and turned on the officers. "What did you do to her?" The officers stammered. Brooks, still in active duty, stared at them like they were bugs under his boot. "She's a war hero," he growled. "She saved my life in Afghanistan. You just pulled guns on a bleeding disabled Medal of Honor recipient. Are you out of your minds?" The road went silent. Birds stopped. Wind held its breath. The cops shrunk. Brooks didn't stop. He took Eleanor's ID from the older officer's shaking hand, held it up, and shouted, "Does this look like a criminal to you?" Eleanor's hand was still trembling, but her eyes were steady now. Brooks crouched down and gently helped her up. "You're okay now. I got you." The younger officer tried to step forward. Brooks turned like lightning. "You take one more step toward her and I'll have your badge by sundown." The cops backed off, and for the first time that day, Eleanor closed her eyes and let herself breathe. But it wasn't over. The press was already circling. Phones were out. The world was watching now, and the reckoning had just begun. The video hit 7 million views by morning. Shot by a local driver who had pulled over just after it all happened. The clip showed everything. A black woman bleeding, missing a leg, surrounded by cops with guns drawn. Her shirt soaked, her face calm, her voice quiet. Then came the moment her ID hit the road and everything changed. It hit social media like lightning. #Major Vance trended by 9 a.m. By noon, every major outlet had her name on their front page, and the question on every headline was the same: how does this happen to a hero? The next morning, at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Captain Hayes and Deputy Miller stood stiff in front of the press. Their uniforms were neat, but their faces were worn, raw with shame. Behind them, Eleanor sat in a wheelchair beside her attorney and Sergeant Brooks. The sheriff, clearly nervous, stepped to the MIC. "We want to publicly and formally apologize to Major Vance for the treatment she received at the hands of our officers. Their actions were unacceptable, reckless, and deeply disrespectful." He paused, took a shaky breath. "Both officers have been terminated immediately. An internal investigation is underway. An additional training on racial profiling and handling disabled persons in distress is now mandatory." A reporter raised a hand. "What made them think she was dangerous in the first place?" The sheriff's face flushed. "A false 9/11 report described a suspicious black female in a van, possibly armed. That description was vague, and our officers failed to assess the situation properly. They let fear, unjustified fear, lead their response." Fear, that word sat heavy in the air. The fear of a disabled black woman in need of medical help. Later that afternoon at the VA hospital, Eleanor sat by the window in her room. She wore a loose gray shirt and her old army dog tags around her neck. Her prosthetic leg leaned against the wall, freshly repaired. Brooks sat beside her, arms crossed, still angry. "You good?" he asked. Eleanor nodded slow. "Yeah, I've been through worse." He shook his head. "Not like that. Not here. That wasn't a battlefield. That was a back road in your own country." "Sometimes," she whispered, "home is the last place you're safe." Brooks looked down. "Quiet." She turned to him. "You know what hit hardest? Not the fall, not the blood, not the guns. It was that look in their eyes, like I was nothing. Like I was guilty by skin." She closed her eyes. "I served 23 years. I buried friends. I took shrapnel for this country. And it took one wrong glance for them to see me as a threat." Brooks's fists clenched. "That ends today." By the end of the week, a citywide town hall was held. They invited Eleanor to speak. The room was packed. Veterans, students, city leaders, and news crews. Standing room only. As she wheeled herself to the front, the room went still. Phones lifted. Cameras flashed. No one blinked. She didn't give a speech. Just a story. "I remember pulling a man from a burning truck. He was white, blonde hair, blue eyes. I didn't ask where he was from, who he voted for, or what he thought of me. I just saved him because that's what we were trained to do." She looked around. "And yet bleeding in the road, barely breathing, I had guns in my face and fear in their eyes. Why? Silence. She leaned in. Not because I was dangerous, but because I was black and disabled. And that's the story we have to change. 2 weeks later, both fired officers were summoned to a closed-door military court hearing where veterans, including Brooks, testified about Eleanor's service. Neither man had anything to say. No defense, just shame. Eleanor didn't show up. She didn't need to. Truth had already done its job. In the final scene, Eleanor rolls through a quiet park at sunset. Kids play nearby. A couple jogs past. Birds chirp overhead. No cameras, no news, just peace. A young black girl on a pink bike stops beside her. She squints at Eleanor's hat. You a real soldier? Eleanor smiles. Was. The girl grins wide. Cool. And pedals off. Eleanor watches her go, then whispers to herself. Let her grow up in a country that sees her before it judges her.